Okay, good evening. Hello and welcome to the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee meeting. Make sure my thing is muted because I'm hearing it go. Okay, good. Of October 10th, 2024, here Memorial Hall. It's our 11th meeting of fiscal 2025. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body as well as members of the public may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at the location in the posted agenda, and it is possible that all members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may be accessed remotely via the link in the posted agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so in person attendance or accessing the meeting remotely. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28, Charter Channel 192, or via Westborough TV's online platforms at westboroughTV.org and youtube.com/WestboroughTV. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed by Westborough TV, and we thank them for their support. Okay, so tonight we will be, don't see anyone, unless Mr. Keogh's here for public comment, I doubt. We don't have anybody for public comment. We will be discussing the special town meeting articles. We're doing a little setup right now because of some projector problems. While we do that, I will accept a motion to approve the September 19th minutes. Somebody wants to make that motion?
McMahon, I move we approve the September 19th minutes.
Clap second.
Okay. Is there any discussion, corrections, changes? Nothing exciting? Okay. Everybody's in person at the moment, so all in favor? Anybody opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, so that's 800. Thank you, Laura, for doing those. Okay. You think you're ready to go, or you want me to do something else first? Or? Yes. I probably have to make you a co-host or something. Let me make you a co-host.
Josh, did you second?
All right. I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to share, I think.
Who's asking who seconded?
And while we're getting started, we're fortunate to have Joe Bargman, who is the architect for the community center project here tonight, along with Christy Williams, our town manager. And so the first article we're going to talk about is the community center, also known as Article 9 on the warrant. Awesome, it's working. Oop.
Beth's looking for the.
You want me to send an email
I can,
to her?
If you've got it handy, I'm looking for
Yeah.
it.
It's in the agenda, Beth. Okay, I'll forward this to Beth. Just tell her yes, it's on its way.
Yep.
Figure it's in the agenda, you can find it. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, I was just getting Beth the Zoom link.
Okay. Do you want us to wait?
I think you can get going.
Okay. So we are here tonight, I think, to talk about Article 9, which is the community center article. So our request at the October town meeting is an appropriation of just over $1.1 million. That's even though it's written in the article with sort of multiple options for funding sources, the motion that we've drafted is to transfer from the Del Webb Chauncey Lake Mitigation Stabilization Fund. And so just as a reminder, that stabilization fund was set up to receive and is funded through monies that we receive from the Del Webb Chauncey Lake development. It's about $642,000 each time a certificate of occupancy is awarded, so one for each building, or one payment for each building. The total amount is $9 million. The first $1.8 million was transferred by a vote of town meeting to the Affordable Housing Trust. This fund was set up really through a variance that was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals when the developers, the Pulte developers, requested a variance from the affordable housing requirement. And so this fund was set up at town meeting to receive those funds and to be expended in support of seniors, capital projects to support seniors and senior programming, and then also affordable housing. So this is appropriately being used for the support of this this new senior center or community center. So not on the town meeting warrant is the sort of construction or build out of the community center. There's been a lot of community engagement around what this community center might look like. We've talked before here about how a community center is not prescriptive like a public safety facility. And so I think based on our conversation last time, it feels like it would be helpful for you to see sort of how far we've gotten in terms of schematic design, which was already funded by town meeting, and then sort of understand the purpose of the next appropriation. So we have our architect here, Joel Bargman from BH+A, who is going to give you an abbreviated presentation, abbreviated from the presentation that was provided to the select board, but I know that we've shared with you the full slides. And then we can answer questions after that. Okay.
Thank you. Joel Bargman, BH+A. I thought I would go through the scope of the work that's being proposed, and then that scope helps define what the professional fees for us and OPM and other engineers are moving forward, so it gives you a context. And I'll just start at the site plan. We have, the building in the at this end of Union Street, and there is some site work involved with the project. There's a minor amount, and I'll show you what that cost is, and we'll show you how that's been ascribed to the project budget. But there's not enough accessible handicap parking in the site. There's 4 spaces on the site. We're adding 4 additional spaces to that. The sidewalk in front of the building has tripping hazards. All this was in the due diligence report that was prepared for the purchase. We're adding a service entry across the back. There's some infrastructure being put in to put some EV stations in potentially in the future, and some other repairs to the parking lot. Not significant cost. There's also some repairs that have been discussed for the outside of the building that again was in the due diligence report, and we've rolled that into this particular project. This is a plan of the first floor of the building. So let's jump back to I actually have it up here. The front of the building is here. The existing door to what was Steinmart is at that arrow, and that makes a lot of sense to put the new door there. We may want to move the door from at the request of some citizens, but it's still a good economical place to use that existing entry to come into the building, and this L-shaped area is the senior center component. what's really nice about the scheme is that there's this really nice room at the corner of the building that just happens to be 2,800 square feet, perfect multi-purpose room. And with the positioning of the door, you can have that multi-purpose room be used at night, where folks don't necessarily have to go through the rest of the senior center. It can be used on the weekends, and it can be used for all sorts of different activities. You come into the lobby, there's a reception desk, a lounge, a kitchen, and the multi-purpose room. This way then goes offices, some additional nurses and health offices, and then program rooms. You can see there's a gap here, missing tooth in the project. Some of the members on the select board had suggested that we try to economize with some of the rooms upstairs, and we've moved that into a future phase, so that the construction of those two rooms. You'll be surprised the cost of that, and the reason is that there's no windows in this particular wall, so a big portion of the cost is putting windows in. These bathrooms wonderfully are in place. That makes a huge difference. Those bathrooms are to support an area here that will have in the future offices for veterans, administrator, and a lounge for veterans that they've asked, but it's a multi-purpose lounge used by other groups that may use this open space, and we'll show you how that might be configured. But everything in white is not built in phase one. Phase one is really the senior center component. It's about 10,000 square feet of space. It's not for free. We have to put emergency lighting in, you have to put life safety systems in, sprinklers. They're there, but they have to be reorganized for the vacant use. There needs to be a minimal amount of heat into the building. There's a new stair and an elevator here. We've itemized it out so you can see what that cost is. We've actually itemized it out separately for stair and elevator because some people have asked, can you do an elevator and not do a stair? The answer is you could if you wanted to. It's in a really great location because it sort of bridges the gap between the senior center and this future multi-purpose space that's open. And it gives the seniors a way to connect up to the recreation department level so that what was here, they can use rooms upstairs for group exercise, arts and crafts, share with the recreation department those particular programs. And it's also relatively, well, it's less expensive there because upstairs there just so happens to be a wall with a shaft that carries fresh air down to the ground floor that's not moving anywhere, and another wall that I think has brace frames in it. And when you see the pictures of that area, that's a brick wall, so we'd ideally not want to take it down. And that's a great place to put the stair. There happens to be a steel beam in there, so cutting an opening is very cost-effective in that location. So it's a serendipitous finding of the existing condition. So that's phase one, is the senior center, and I'll show you what the options to that are. Future build-out in some phase, we've taken out the option of phase because there could be 2, 3, 4, as many phases as you want. And some of the programs could be done as capital programs through the DPW or other groups. They don't all, for example, some of the wall repairs on the existing building don't have to be bid out, Chapter 149. They could be done Article 30 through the DPW. The roof repairs could be done that way, et cetera. But the big piece in the future is here you have the build out of the veterans lounge, a break room for them. The lounge is really for multi-users. This big area is designed with a flat floor, so it can be a polling station. So you would come in, there's a new door and handicap ramp and stair going in. So as a polling station, you park in the back of the building. If you recall, there's a whole lot of parking there. You're not stealing parking from the seniors or the recs. Voters can come in, registered for their precinct go in here, and you can have as many voting stations set up. It's a 4,000 square foot space, because these seats all collapse against the wall when they're not down. When they are down, you would have the option for a black box theater, seats 300 folks, could be used for community events. One of the select board members has brought up the Natick Center for the Arts. It's also used for leasing out to public events, which in this particular neighborhood is great. You have the restaurants, the other mall activities that would really benefit from a program, a drama program or a band or high school play, whatever. That beauty of the flat floor means that you can also get up to 250 seats on there if you want to have a banquet. So there's been a lot of discussion on the project, and if I'm going too long, just tell me to speed up. A lot of discussion on the project about the size of the multipurpose room, and this matches the size and the capacity of what they have today. And what we don't want to do is make it so big that it begins to compete with the size of that room, and you go, well, why do I have two such big rooms? This creates a really nice hierarchy. You can get 175 seats at tables and 200 seats at lecture orientation, and if you want more, you can go into the big room. When, I don't have a picture of the wall, but on the second floor, I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit, got out of order. On the second floor, everything that's colored is there today. We're just suggesting that there's some minor reconfiguration in what were the Boston Sports Club offices and a squaring out of the end of the office. That's curved now, so if we square it off, they have a little bit more space. And we connect this room to the office, so now they have a workroom, conference room, and administrative offices. The room that's here is a party room. We're suggesting it could go where the old desk was in this location. It has wonderful light. This room doesn't have any light, so it really makes a much better room. And then the control desk is right here. We're moving it up there. They'll still have access control over the front door, which is here, coming into the space. But when they're up at this location, they have good view of what's going on the second floor. There's some storage rooms suggested that could be built. There's a large rec storage room in this building, so that's what we're partly replacing. And then there's a suggestion here that was put in for pricing. It's not saying that this is what's going to be in here. The thought is that recreation's now moved in. They'll get used to the space. They can learn about it. They'll get information from users of the space. We'll see how the space gets used, and we can verify or change that program. But this gave us a way to estimate a cost for that, and that way of doing it was a toddler room, a teen lounge, and a middle schooler's space. So we had 3 specific rooms for different age groups of kids, and then a group open play area that could be used for anything from preschoolers to seniors doing Zumba classes or whatever. And then these 2 rooms up here are the rooms that are shared with, I said, those 2 future rooms on the first floor that don't need to be built today. Wonderful gym, and that stair works out great. You come up the stair, the elevator, and boom, you're right in the gym. 2 pickleball courts. Seniors will be really excited. Pool needs some renovations, and what we're suggesting is you don't have to do the renovation of the pool as part of a bigger project. You can do an Article 30 RFP to pool contractors, and South Shore Gunite or Aquanaut, anyone could come in, bid on that, and do that work, and then you save the general contractor's markups and overhead, which is 30 to 40%. And you probably have better control over who you get as your pool subcontractor. So we were suggesting to pull the pool out of the big contract, and I'll show you how that, sorry. Some of the cost on the second floor, you're going to say, well, why is it so expensive to put a track in? Well, there's these raised platforms that have to come out, and then there's no floor underneath those. There's electrical outlets in there because that used to be cardio equipment. All this flooring really has to come up and be reset down. And one of the multi-purpose rooms has all this mirror and platform, so we're suggesting that that could be made into a more general, useful room without those features. And it needs a new ceiling. There are some leaks in that. So, back to the reality. We initially priced out the project. I think we sent you this. There were 3 different schemes, and there was a complete cost estimate, scheme 1, scheme 2, scheme 3. Those 3 alternatives were used to inform this final design. That final design then received its own estimate. It was called option 4. When you go through those, you'll see there's some differences. When we did option 4, we just priced out the senior center component because in these earlier versions, we had priced out the future components of the building. And when I say we, it's professional independent estimator PM&C, who's done innumerable senior centers and community centers for us, so they have a good record of what the finishes are. The cost estimate then was categorized into 3. Every cost that's in here was given a category. It's either the phase 1 or one of the future phases of work. And that allowed us then to create a master spreadsheet with our estimator that attributed the breakout costs to these different components, because folks were saying, well, how much is it for the stair? How much is it for the elevator? And break out all those individual costs. So we have the base cost for the senior center, which is the first 2 floors, an option to put the stair and the elevator in, or put one or the other. If you put the stair in, you have to put the elevator in. If you put the elevator in, you don't necessarily have to put the stair in. And then part of phase 1 is to replace the 24 rooftop gas-fired units with hybrid gas-fired and electric heat pump units. There's a rebate program through Eversource that would allow that work to be bid. Eversource and their consultant gave us this estimate, 700 to 800,000, so we've included the higher number. And they've given us the estimate that there would be approximately 500,000 of a rebate. But the trick on this is you have to fund it, build it, and then the rebate comes later. But all told, that creates an ask of 12,250 and a final cost of 11,750. A lot of money. I will point out that new senior centers of this size cost significantly more. You're getting a lot out of just having to do interior renovations on the senior center component, about half the price. Now, in some sort of future phases, and the reason that I was saying we broke all this out is I know Christy had mentioned there were some questions about how we got to the costs, and I just want to point out it's not arbitrary. It's all been thought through we're at schematic level, but it's been thought through. You get project 2 is future projects, really. And that's the build out of the walking track and that whole new floor system, getting rid of all the Boston Sports Club platforms, kiosks, all the branding from Boston Sports Club. It adds up, unfortunately. If you built out that unprogrammed space on the 2nd floor, that's the cost for doing that. The veterans office and that back of house space on the 1st floor also has community lockers. It has a 2,000 square foot storage mezzanine on the 2nd floor. So there's more than just veterans office in that cost. And then it's not an insignificant cost, but it's a really, for a theater, black box, auditorium, very nice convention type space, $3.67 million. And then the last 2 program rooms to build out on the senior center are $760,000. As I mentioned, the big cost of that is the new windows. Now, we put in a separate category things that we thought, you don't necessarily have to put in a Chapter 149 bid. The building and roof repairs, that could be a separate job. That could be out of building maintenance, or however the town wants to fund it. It doesn't necessarily have to be through this particular bond. The parking lot and the sidewalk repairs, the swimming pool, and the EV charging stations are those items. Now, those costs do include OPM and management fees. If you decided to pull these out and do them in a simpler manner, these costs would come down. But again, we wanted to stay at the upper end of that cost. And then to make the building, you get an emergency shelter out of this project because there's a community center with a kitchen, because you need that for the senior center. There's a gym, so you have a huge space for folks to shelter in a storm overnight. There's plenty of rooms. Part of the shelter requirement is you have to have an animal place for them to stay overnight. So you have all those facilities other than the emergency generator. The emergency generator is this cost. That's a whole building emergency generator, 60,000 square feet. It's a big generator. It includes, you have to upgrade the switchgear to put a generator on that building. And the reason it's pulled out is that I understand the town's going to pursue, are there any grants opportunities through the state? Some of the other community centers and senior centers have had grants for the emergency management components of the project. So you get the total cost of all of these other options being $10.5 million. And again, that's stated with the total project cost. And I'm sorry, I missed explaining that. The construction cost is one thing. This is a worksheet, and I'm not thinking that you can read it all, but I can pass it out if you want. It's just to point out there are a lot of things that happen that aren't construction related. There's the OPM, there's construction testing, there's some hazardous materials in the soil potentially that has to be tested. There's printing, there's maybe a change of use going from the Steinmart to a community center. Do we have to go to the planning board and do a change of use for parking because the planning board bylaws have we don't know, but we put $2,000 in case you have to notify the abutters of this change of use and the parking. So it puts all the contingency costs into the project. Architect's fees, OPM fees, engineering fees, furniture, audiovisual, kitchenwares for the kitchen. I'm sure we thought, this has been going on for 20 years, but I'm sure someone could come up with something we've missed in this total project cost thing. When you're done, $1 of construction costs actually costs about 1.38, let's call it $1.40. All those other costs that go into a project. And so what these costs that are quoted here are the total project costs. You gotta go to the town meeting and fund. It's not just the construction costs. And I get a lot of pushback because the numbers are high, but I didn't show the construction costs separately. And then what we did on this column here to the right, it just said, if you defer these programs out, what is the cost that might be? Just so folks know, right now, our OPMs have suggested that they have a cost estimating service as well. They carry 5% for escalation. So you can see over time the projects do increase in cost. And as we go forward, there will be 2 additional points where the cost is estimated. One at the end of design development, one at 60% construction documents, to make sure that when you bid the project, you hit the number so that we can bring that bid to town meeting next spring. That's the goal here, is get through all these steps, bid it, bring a bid in hand to town meeting. And this is not saying this is the design, but again, to justify the cost. As I mentioned, the cost estimator has done a lot of community centers and senior centers for us. So he knows what the finishes are. We have historical data. There are finishes spec for the different rooms that we know you may not be what you do color-wise, but probably what you're going to do in terms of material. So it gives us a basis for design. That's the lobby going into the multipurpose room. That's the kitchen. We know there needs to be a roll-down door. There needs to be a corian counter. There needs to be a gate, a door into the lounge area on the left. There's going to be built-in furniture in the lounge, a fireplace. So he can see through a series of renderings that this is not just a made-up cost per square foot estimate. And then this is the multipurpose room, which we've been working with a lot of the constituents in Westborough on, different seating areas. So we've explored that, and this is showing sort of 125 seats in that room, but it can get up to a much higher point. So that's my explanation of how we got to this point and how we got to those numbers, and I hope that was helpful and answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Okay, any questions? Let's start with you then, Prashant.
So I can start off with a very simple question, maybe, I guess. So when we designed this senior center or community center, senior center to begin with in phase 1, did we look at any conversation, did we have any conversations with the folks from existing senior center, what works well, what kind of things are being really liked in that senior center, and were those brought automatically into the learnings and improvement areas into this new design as well?
I took that slide out to abbreviate the presentation, but there were a series of in-person meetings. There was a survey that was written that we got 1,200 plus responses of what folks wanted. So we had a number of just senior only, and then Christy and Kim arranged for us to go out into the community, the affordable housing project. We went to one of the large housing projects down on Route 9. We really tried to get as much feedback as possible.
But even before that, there was this Council on Aging, along with, I think, the architect and the OPM visited senior centers in the area to see sort of what they looked like, and then also to ask those exact questions, like what works well. I think the primary thing that they heard was flexible space, because if you build it just for one particular activity, you sort of lose something. And then storage, the need for storage. So those were sort of two of the big takeaways, but we did do that work as
Awesome.
well. Yep.
Thank you.
Someone else? Question? Andrew?
Sure. Do you think you could pull up the map of the building design? Because the flexible space point, as well as the multi-generational senior center point that sort of popped out at me as I looked at that is that, yeah, that's a great one, yes. Is that I wonder what the consideration was made for how this is supposed to be a potentially multiple usable, multiple groups overlaying, because what strikes me is there are offices that are closer to the door than the seniors' activities. The area for the veterans is all the way off to the right, instead of in a way that there may be more cross-habitation or cross-use of space. You know, the fact that the senior space is divided in the middle by those offices, top and bottom, versus keeping them more proximately closer. So there's flow potentially, but also cross-pollination, which I think is an important part of being able to, you know, multiply use the space.
So, a couple things. On the offices are put there on purpose because when the reception, you have a backup. It's hard to see on the slide, but there's a reception desk there, and these desks are there to back up that reception desk if they're out to lunch or not there, or that there are multiple people having issues when they come into the building. So the idea is you come in and you have that administrative space. There are these offices here that look out. We've been doing it, I know no one likes experts, but have been doing this for a long time. The staff like to see the parking lot, because if someone stumbles or falls in the parking lot, they can see what's going on out there. They don't like to be upstairs. They don't like to be an inboard. It's really desired that we get staff up front, and that if people are coming for outreach, counseling, meet some other thing, they can come in and do that. The nurse is here, the professional office is there. So the idea was you can get all of your day-to-day business done up front here, and then where the crowds can congregate at the game room, activity space, card room, program room, future program rooms, or that, or on either side of that, and it puts the staff there in the middle of the program. So they're quite happy with that, and it works functionally really well. The reason that the veterans are back here is we did have the veterans in here and across. Not all veterans are seniors, so we've had complaints from like Afghanistan soldiers and Iraqi veterans. We don't want to come into a senior center. We want to come into our veteran space, and they may not want to come in and be on display because they may be coming in for PSTD counseling or other events. So they have their own entry in the back and a way of getting to that. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't share this conference room. Doesn't mean they can't share the professional office. They can't use these other programs. But it was specifically desired to have some separation because of the different age groups. And quite frankly, when we've put veterans offices in senior centers, I'm not a senior. I don't really want to go to the senior center to talk to the Veterans Affairs folks. And there was a huge desire on the veterans to have a lounge. And the thought was, if you put the lounge here off the entry, and it sort of shares with whatever program goes there in the future, you do get that cross-pollination, and the veterans get what they wanted, but it's not just space sitting there waiting for the veterans to use, so it's multi-use space. So there are 100 ways to design something that was thought through, and I think people like this.
I think one other piece that we've talked about before is that the multi-purpose space. So right now, we know that the Boy Scouts serve, spaghetti supper or whatever at the senior center. There's the ability to allow the community to use that space outside of senior center hours and sort of separate the rest of the senior center. So it's not sort of walking through the entire center to get to what would likely be used often as a more community space in the evenings or on the weekends and things like that.
It happens. In Needham, they rent out the multi-purpose room if somebody has a confirmation or a bar mitzvah or whatever. The people in the community find a lot of uses out of that multi-purpose room, and it's there for select board meetings, it's there for all sorts of different uses at night, and they get heavily used. So that room in the budget is fully TV connected. And,
Thank you for the feedback. I maintain my healthy skepticism of professionals, but thank you.
I
It's
wasn't
important.
saying it that way. I didn't recognize that.
Just to clarify, you gave us a couple of estimates of phase 1, phase 2, and then you also talked about additional fees that come from management contractors, etc. So just to clarify, when we talk about the phase 1 or the first phase of 11,750,000, is it all inclusive, or those additional fees come on top?
No,
of
that's all inclusive. All those numbers are all inclusive. So if anything, they would come down. If, for example, if the roof repairs, you may not need the OPM, and you may not need all the architects and that, so you could simplify that. But we wanted to give you the highest cost.
And the soil testing and all that, it's also.
That's in here, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All lined up. It's actually been bid out, we know for firm. The geotechnical, the soil testing, all that has been firm proposals.
And that actually was in my email, was that the request at town meeting might actually be $10,700 higher than what's in the warrant because of those additional soil testing that would be part of this upcoming article.
Maybe, or will be, or?
I have talked to John Arnold, who's, I think, probably watching the meeting right now, so, but yeah, that's the intent.
Joel, thanks for all the hard work you've done. You've made incredible progress over the past few months. I want to go back to what Adam said. Could you put up your slide for the total project cost, which was like 15 million? So this is the 11,750 is what we're anticipating right now for this project.
Well, that's
all in.
after the rebate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in. And then the other one that showed the 15?
That's 10,530.
No,
It's on the one you can't read.
Oh, that's,
Keep going, keep
Yeah.
it, that one, right there.
Yeah. So what,
that
I'm
was,
trying to understand what this spreadsheet.
this is taking all the soft this puts the different phases in. This was done, that's why I said I didn't redo it for this evening's presentation. This was done earlier with the bigger project in hand. I was only doing it to show you how we calculate
Okay.
the
So-
factor. So that's why I let the numbers be so small that you couldn't read it.
Can I just interrupt
You read
before-
it, yes.
So I think the 15.5, so originally, if, the preferred design included, more build out of the lower level and also included some work on the second level. And that I think was that 15.5 million was for the phase one. So when we talked through it and when we looked at, funding and things that we might pursue grants for, or, you know, just, and then I think really when we were thinking about temporary space for the library, that's when we sort of changed the phase one to just the senior center on the first floor, so that we can have further conversation about potentially helping the library find temporary space within the building.
So I think it would be helpful to do this level of breakdown for the proposed
Yeah.
solution. Just to understand how so presumably if the 11.5, 38% is all these other things.
That's correct.
So that would leave a construction cost of 8 million something.
We can do it, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, I guess, if you could go back to your main cost slide, and I promised Christie I wouldn't get into the nuts and bolts of the estimate, so I promise not to. So, I mean, what strikes me is two things. One is obviously the cost of the elevator and the stair. I realize you have some difficulties getting to the existing stair and elevator, but it could be done for a minimal amount of money, or much less money. The other question I would have is the Eversource rebates, and is that based on this year's program or next year's program, or?
It's based on a consultant that the town retained called Energy Source, works with Eversource. They did a feasibility study for this project, assuming that it would not be done this year, it would be done next
Okay.
year.
What I had heard is the study was based on being this year, but as long as you're confident that it's.
Well, it wasn't funded, so there's no way to do it this year, because you have to pay for the equipment for them to do it, and then you get rebated or refunded at the end, and it would be great if you had the funds now, because all that could be done, and when the GC bid comes in and it's funded in April or March, whenever it is, you'd be ready to go. It would be excellent. But
So, I mean, my thought is to just do the 10,450,000 and not do the other two.
well, our job is to hear what people say and give the
Right.
alternatives.
Right.
I'd say like 90% of the people want the stair and the elevator to get upstairs, and it would be hard to sort of, right now, you'd have to leave the building and come in the other entry. The floor of the senior center happens to be 3.5 feet above the entry to the recreation floor. So if you wanted to come around and get into here, you could go outside. If we connected inside, you would have to put a ramp to make that grade transition, and that wasn't free either, so that got to be expensive.
I just want to speak to the sort of the process. So So I think that this helps illustrate sort of where we've been and where we are. So there's, with the funding at the upcoming town meeting includes some additional public engagement to get sort of feedback on this proposed design. And then further develop the design to bid documents for this phase 1, and then do some additional design development for the future items, so the things that are in white here. So that's the request for this coming town meeting.
And Christie and I have talked about this, and I agree. The only thing I would point out, if the project gets simpler, the design fees go down, and we might not need $1.1 million or $1.2 million. If it was just the 15,000 square foot fit up of the senior center without the elevator, without the HVAC units, presumably that.
Well, the HVAC is designed by our team. Eversource doesn't do the engineering.
No, I
We
understand
have to
that, but
design
if that
it.
wasn't part of the project, then all I'm saying is
Well,
if it was,
the equipment's at the end of its useful life. I don't think you can, it'd be hard not to do the replacement of the rooftop equipment.
Okay.
It's also, the Steinmart space is designed as a retail store. Different occupancy loading, different fresh air requirements. We have a new energy code, so you're not allowed to just, you have to bring ERVs to bring fresh air into these spaces. So all that code requirement, when you change the use, you have to bring the building up when you meet at the codes that are in place at the time that the renovation's done. So we sort of have to do the rooftop units. It's a lot cheaper. I think the rooftop units were $2 million, but it was done outside of the Eversource program. It's also much more efficient because they're heat pumps, so it's minimal fossil fuel use on them. The fossil fuel is only used as a backup. The heat pumps are very efficient energy-wise, so it'd be it's a 20-year-old system up there. You can imagine driving around. The advances we've made in technology are pretty good.
okay. I thought that was still one of the options that was being explored.
It is, I mean, it's identified as a separate cost because we have the rebate program, but we were saying it's in this phase 1 project, so.
Okay.
Look, you can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm here to give you the numbers.
Yeah,
And-
no,
yeah.
I mean, the numbers are the hard part, right?
Yeah.
If we had unlimited funds, it'd be easy.
Can you go to that next slide? Obviously, we're not looking for funding of any of this, but I just really want to underscore that second section is really things that we have identified. I know Joel said it, but I want to say it again, as some things that could either be done within existing contracts that the DPW has or through the capital plan. So the swimming pool, for example, Jen is getting a lot of feedback from the community, and I think we've heard all along, people are very interested in the use of the pool. That could be presented in the upcoming capital plan as a request. As Joel just mentioned, that $400,000 includes all of that additional overhead. So, you know, we would refine that number and potentially make that request. So, you know, I think that you should anticipate seeing at least those items coming forward through the capital program. The emergency generator, I'm not making any promises, but I know that the fire chief has already identified a potential grant funding source. I don't know what that will cover, but we have identified a grant that has funded generators for other communities, and so we're going to pursue that, so we have some time to do that. So, and then, you know, there's sort of other options that we've tossed around, right? The idea of sponsorship or, you know, other things. So anyway, so I just want to be clear about that second section, that 1.3 million, 1.29 million.
In that fee, I just want to mention that it includes the design development of the 2-floor open spaces. For there's no cost attributed to that, but you still have it.
Right.
Gene?
Actually, I was just going to ask Christie about that 1.3, if we would expect to see that in the spring, and it sounds like we do.
Yeah, I mean,
Or some portion of it
Right,
for some
right.
funding source.
Yes.
So that'll be that while that's not included in the phase one project costs as part of the bond, it really will be part of the phase one.
I don't think that all of it would be,
But some, yeah,
Yeah.
some portion and some funding
I think that
mechanism.
we would anticipate putting the pool forward.
Right.
Because we own the building and it has a pool
Yeah,
and
no,
we wanna
that-
be able
I-
to use it. And so I definitely would anticipate the pool coming forward.
But not the 8.2 in project 2 or the roof membrane, at least short term.
Right,
We wouldn't expect to see
Correct.
those,
I would, right,
not short term,
right, right,
whatever that means.
right,
Either 5 or 20 years, as we discussed earlier.
yeah.
Which are pretty much the same now.
Same to me, yeah.
That's right.
Thank you. So in the original proposal, and I just want to sort of track where the costs have changed in terms of setting an understanding here. The original proposal, the 15-ish million, is now really closer to 12 million. So that's one piece. In the original proposal, the roof units and all took about between 4.5 and 5 million of that cost. And now I'm seeing it represented as 800,000. Is
The number that you saw, the bigger number, was the roof units and then the distribution for 60,000 square feet within the space. So that includes all the heat pump cassettes, all the VRF piping, everything that goes inside the building was in that number, including the rooftop unit replacement. So the 800,000 is just the rooftop units.
okay.
The distribution for the senior center is now in the cost of the senior center as opposed to itemized separately. Because we know that we're gonna need new units and that area is now defined, so we could put that into that cost.
Well, I guess maybe that opens another question, because if the distribution is just for the senior center, but we know that the top floor clearly needs some air or you know, whatever, like, are you just bypassing the entire second floor, or?
The second floor. Oops. The second floor has distribution, sorry. All these ducts are up in the ceiling.
Yep.
We're not changing any rooms in phase one, and in future phases, we would just be changing rooms in this central area. So there the distribution would change, but that's in that estimate of the 1.8 that I gave you. Everywhere else, the distribution of air can stay the way it is on the second floor. It's really a nice advantage. So all we're doing is replacing the units that supply air to that. They're more efficient, and then
Okay, thank you. Then the walk from 15 to 12, that $3 million difference is, we're building out less, or?
well, we are building out less. We took out those 2 rooms on the first floor. And on the second floor, we're not doing the track.
Yep.
I didn't mention, there's a track that goes around the second floor. It's really just a different surface. It's not
Sure.
a bank track. But all of this flooring has to come up. You have AstroTurf, you have weightlifting, and it's all a mess of different floors. So we have to unify it. We have to get rid of all these. So that is all moved out to a future phase. That was originally in the phase one project.
And the pool was in phase one
Pool
originally.
was also in phase
Oh,
one.
was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that to me, a big part as well.
Yeah.
And I just had one more question, then I'm done. So one of the pieces I didn't see mentioned here at all, and maybe it's just built in the assumptions, would be any technology. I'm presuming outlets and stuff, electrical is directionally where it needs to be, you know, might be moved around a little bit. But the entire technology where we now have people who are gonna be on servers, you know, browsers, that sort of thing. Is there a technology cost that is not represented here that would need to be considered?
There's, in the budget, there's $400,000 of technology costs primarily for the first floor of the building. They're operating on the second floor with the offices there using the Wi-Fi and the systems that are in place. So in phase one, there's minimal amount of work on the second floor for AV, IT, Wi-Fi, but on the first floor, there's really nothing, so that all has to be put in. So we have, on the famous total project cost worksheet, there's a Wi-Fi installation costs, there's an IT rack, there's an MDF room, there's TVs in each program room, the multipurpose room has a wonderful projector and screens like here, so all that's in,
Okay,
including whatever furniture they need.
okay, so thank you. I think it's the cost we didn't see. And cloud storage takes much less space than racks, but, you know, that's a journey for another conversation. Thank you.
I just want to add, since we're talking about technology, that before we moved the recreation department over there, our IT department had to run fiber, and we did get a grant that covered that for us as well.
Great, thank you. Good job.
Okay, a question for me is, can you go back to the different two-floor slides? You can start with the second or first, but I'm just curious, this is in context of thinking about maybe library in there temporary. The size of these spaces and also the size of the space on the second floor? In square feet roughly, the big
Yeah,
empty
not
space.
That big
Yeah.
white square is 6,000 square feet total. If you bring that in, that would add another 2,000 square feet, so it could be up to 8,000. And on the second floor, that's, I believe that entire center section is 7,000 square feet. The discussion was their quiet rooms could take over those on a temporary basis. So you'd have, this is a 1,200, that's a 1,700 square foot room. They could even potentially take the program room. So there's almost 10,000 square feet on that floor.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so to that point with the library, I know that we had talked conceptually about them sort of co-locating on the second floor. I've been told that at the library building committee, there was a discussion about them using the lower level, that open space. So I had a conversation with our OPM and then also our community development director about conceptually the possibility of that. And obviously there's a lot of detail to be worked out, but it's definitely something that we should be talking about in more detail, because it is conceptually, it could work. We just have to figure that out.
Mhm.
One of the issues with the lower level is that the approach would be from the back, and which is like the loading dock area, and then there is a door with stairs. So in terms of accessibility, that would have to be addressed. But that's just one item.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? So are you saying that you think the number is not 1,127.13, it's 1,130 something? Do you know that number?
So it's the number that you just said, the number in the warrant plus $10,700.
But do you need to find out if John will allow that?
I assume he
Before
will
you-
allow it.
Yeah, I put in the chat that the wording of "or such other amount as town meeting may approve" is already in the warrant, so the so the motion can actually include that extra $10,000. There's no problem with that.
Thank you.
So it'd be
You're welcome.
1,137,713. That's what.
That's
That's
the
what's in the
number plus
warrant.
$10,700.
10,700 or 7,000?
10,700.
700. Okay,
You're gonna have to do the math yourself, Jim.
I got it.
You can get my phone.
I got it.
We're the finance committee. She showed up assuming we can
Yeah,
do our own
That's
math.
what I came up with too.
Okay. So I'm thinking we ought to at least vote on that motion, so then we save ourselves a little time at town meeting.
Yep.
Okay, why don't you make a motion so then we can discuss
Sure.
it further?
McMahon, I move to recommend the town vote to transfer from Del Webb Chauncey Stabilization Fund,
Chauncey Lake
Chauncey
Chauncey
Stabilization
Lake
Fund.
Stabilization Fund, $1,131,413 to fund design, development, public engagement, detailed cost estimate, and bid documents for building improvement to the Westborough Community Center.
Bradley, second.
Let me catch up here. Bradley. Any further discussion? Must be some. Today's 10:10. Go ahead, Rob.
Just one more question. So when you come up with your design fee, Joel, how is that established?
Well, first of all, the fee that you're approving includes the OPM's fee, it's
Yeah,
not just us.
Yep.
And our fee is based on scope of work and the cost of construction, and so you figure out what needs to be done. I assume that there's gonna be some add alternates, like the stair and the elevator will probably end up being an add alternate to the project. You have to draw it, design it, you get a separate bid for that, and then the town has another bite at the apple, and the town meeting decide whether they wanna put that in or not, because we'll actually have a firm bid on just that alternate piece. The scope that's in that project that we showed is the way that we determine the fees, and we're doing design development. We broke it out, and I think we've provided to you all the subcontractors that are required, hazmat, geotech, cost estimating, civil, et cetera. So we put that all together, those go out to request for proposals and develop the number.
So your portion of the fee, is that based on a percentage or based on figuring out how many people hours you use
It's
or
people
something?
hours, yeah.
Okay.
And do you bill on people hours, or is it a fixed thing once it's?
Pardon me?
Do you bill on people hours, or?
No, you have a lump sum fixed fee. Believe me, I wish we were billing on the hour here.
Especially after he had to talk to us all night.
Yeah.
So it's all on a fixed fee, and then that's what it is.
Okay.
So.
So it's
you
an
know,
estimate.
We know the pool's
You
gonna be-
estimate the hours, and then you live with your estimate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and whether the pool's in this or a separate job, our pool architect is gonna do the drawings for that, and we can move it to one category or the other, however you wanna contract that.
Let me see if, Beth, do you have any questions? Because you're remote.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Gene?
I don't have a question, but, from discussion standpoint, I just wanted to say, I mean, I've felt that the design and plans of this building have been, pretty expensive. I've been very concerned about it. I think I've expressed openly in this meeting hesitancy about supporting the warrant article because of the cost, but I'm really happy to see that, I think, feedback either from here or other places have brought in this phased approach. And the community center's there, it's running, they're not planning to do anything on that now, it's working as is. This isn't bare bones to get the senior center in, but it's much closer to bare bones to get the senior center in and worry about phase 2 stuff down the road. So I am gonna support this, so I just wanted to put that out there. I know I've been more,
Hesitant.
holding back in the past, but so.
Yeah,
From
I mean-
from a point of discussion, I thought it was worth putting out there.
I feel very similar, right? My expectation was that I would vote against it tonight because of that, right? The scope seemed so dramatic, and I feel like a lot of our concerns and questions were very well addressed tonight, right? We had really specific concerns. I think the project is really, one, it does seem scaled. It is still a high price tag. It's really more than I was anticipating, but I feel like that feedback has been heard and we've seen adjustments. I do feel like the itemization of the project and the phasing really reflects those concerns. I really like that it's broken out. This is what phase 1 is, and here's why. And here's phase 2, but also within phase 2, here's what that looks like, right? Here's the specific projects even within phase 2. So in theory, you could come back and say, well, actually, right, like I'm not a huge fan of the pool. We have other pools. There's a big price tag. And so not only it's there, but it also is separately delineated even within the future plans. And so I think that really gives us the ability, and to the point, the work is all done up front. So all this work is done yes, there's all these portions of the project that maybe I'm not a huge fan of in the future, but the work is there whether we decide to do them or not, and the product we're purchasing at this point is still, I assume, valuable in the future as needs and expectations and sort of the appetite changes.
So if I may to comment, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of work that's being done here, both on the design, planning, community outreach. It's absolutely amazing. But at the end of, and I'm not questioning that, right? It seems to be a great project. But looking at all the numbers, and we do have an estimate for the article, or the exact number for the article. We do have an estimate for the construction, or the phase 1 and phase 2 approach. But we still don't know what is going to cost the taxpayers to do the project. I know, Christy, you mentioned yesterday in the meeting, there will different ideas of funding for the project. So perhaps it's not going to be full 11.8 million borrowed. It's going to probably, there will be funds that will help to fund the whole project. No.
Well, I just want to be really clear that I don't currently anticipate being able to cover the full project without borrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. So
Yeah.
I think we may anticipate that a lot of this cost, a lot of the money will have to be borrowed
Yes.
to cover the cost
Sure.
of the project. And we still, or at least I still don't know how much it's going to cost the taxpayers to do the project.
Yeah, and
So-
that's what the purpose of this next phase is to further the design so that we can get actual numbers,
But
which
even-
is what the library is doing also.
Exactly, but even with the estimate of close to 12 million, we don't know what the number is, what that is going to cost the taxpayers. That's why I find it difficult to support this.
Why, I don't understand what you don't know. I mean, you can calculate what a borrow would cost. It's probably on the ilk of $100-something dollars
So-
a month
so
to
$120.
the average family home.
So
Yeah.
that,
Well, you don't
Is that
know,
what you're talking about?
you don't know, for example, if the sale of the existing senior center would go to
That
fund this
would-
and
that
how
would
much that
be
might be,
boosted.
so therefore how much would be borrowed. I mean, that might be what you're talking about,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But that,
I mean,
you
but you
know-
know what the worst case is, which
Right.
is you're borrowing 11.5 million.
Yeah.
And
which
so you
will
could-
translate to over $100-something dollars for average house, right?
yeah,
Okay.
a year-ish.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to even answer the question until we get to the next phase. That's why we want to go, that's why the next phase is through bid documents, so that we can have a hard number to bring to a future town meeting for that request. I mean, at this point, we're at schematic design, so.
Right. Well, I think the more, I don't want to call it modern, but the recent approach of splitting projects into phases like this of getting real numbers is a big improvement over sort of coming to town meeting saying, I have this $7 million project, and you get it approved, and then you come back and say it's 15 or something, so.
Sorry, it was 9.
Yeah, sorry, it's not. So I do think, I think it was the right approach to cut back to just doing design during this season.
Yeah, big fan of the phasing for this, but before we put phasing on a pedestal, Hastings was phased. Just as a context, I mean, it goes a lot of different ways.
No,
The
I don't
very
mean
best
phased by
interest.
breaking it up into little bitsy pieces. I mean phased into design and have enough drawings to get
Okay.
real bids.
Got
That
it.
kind of
Rather
phasing.
than actual
Not, yeah,
construction,
splitting
not
things into
theoretical.
many projects often doesn't work. Yes, I agree with that part, but I do like the getting the real bids before you ask for the construction costs. Any,
So I'll give you my 2 cents. So the number in my head, overall project cost is $10 million. And you start to see if you take a couple of those things out, you get close to that. So I guess my question is, if I wouldn't support a $11.5 million or whatever, should I support the $1,100,000 design costs? And so I guess that's kind of where, and I'm struggling with that, candidly. I think I would tell you right now, I'll support the 1.1, but I won't support more than 10 million coming to town meeting for bid day. So however that shakes out.
So I think I was sort of in the same boat, right? Like I thought the total price tag was too much. But here, what I'm hearing is that we're gonna get a whole scope of the project in bite-sized pieces, where if, when it comes back, we say, well, that price tag is too high, there is that sort of visual of what would you give up? And it's probably not that straightforward or that direct, right? But I mean, it'll give us some scope, and where we might say 10's our top number, to use yours, and then we can look and say, but what could we live without? But we won't have those real numbers until this is done. So I mean, I certainly see the perspective, and I sort of am in the same boat. I think we need real firm numbers, and then it's deciding what's
Yeah,
What's it
or
really
you
worth
decide
to
how much
us?
you're willing to spend and you design towards that number, I guess. And I mean, I'd be curious what Joel's reaction is to the ability to design to a lower number. If you have a reaction.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole question.
So if I said I wanted to design towards a $10 million budget, what would you still suggest I support the $1.1 million design fee with the expectation that we'll work to lower the number during the design?
Well, if that's, I mean, having a budget is not a bad thing. We
Right.
haven't had a budget up to this point.
Right.
So if that is the direction, then you work to make the project. I don't know that it's unanimous what the budget is yet.
Right.
But, so you may create add alternates
Right.
to the project, so there's a base, and then, like I said, the stair and the elevator is a alternate one, and there's 2 or 3 other alternates that go into the project. There's a way to nuance that. I do want to repeat that the design fees aren't, I mean, it includes the OPM, and that's not an insignificant cost in that 1.1, the owner's project manager. So it's not 1.1 of design fees, it's project support fees.
Yeah, so $1 million or,
No, their fees, I don't know what their fee is, but it's a lot more than that, 100,000.
it's about 125, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, are you saying 10 million for just phase 1 or 10 million
Yeah,
for? Okay.
Phase 1,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, we're in the
Just wanted to
ballpark,
be
we're in the
clear.
ballpark. I mean, I'm just,
Right.
I think,
We're
I'd
so
really
much
like to see
closer
us
than we
design to a
started.
budget. I
We're
guess
going the right direction.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay, we have a lot more stuff to cover. Any
Just one
further
last,
comments?
yeah, just one last question I had on the additional fees of 120,000 which has been applied because there has been an extension of the timeline. Is that how I've understood correctly? That there's, because we are moving now with this schematic design from anticipated special fall meeting to the March meeting. That's why there's an additional fee of additional project management and other costs of 120,000. So my question really is, just playing a devil's advocate, if let's say, you know, if this warrant doesn't get cleared, which I'm assuming will, because it's a great way of presenting what exactly there is. But if let's say it doesn't get cleared, will that mean there will be more additional cost, additional fee cost, and what possibly could we do to, not have any additional extension?
So the 120,000 proposal is from the OPM for the next phase.
Okay. That additional fee of 120,000 is not really for extending the timeline. Is that how I understand?
Right, it's an extension of that it's an extension of the contract, but it's not because we've extended the timeline. If this doesn't move forward, we don't have any other money to do anything with the building.
So
Okay.
the OPM was hired for coming to this
To
set
schematic,
of this
to
in
this.
And
this
doing
much
that.
time.
Correct.
So that
Got
Right,
Got
now
it.
they would be hired for another
right.
6 months.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ideally, they will get hired for construction too, I would guess.
Right.
Okay, we have one person remote, so we need to vote by roll call vote. And that starts with you.
Ahuja, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Lumberg, yes.
Brandt, yes.
Adam?
Chimala, no.
Clap yes.
You a no, sorry.
No.
I want to make sure I got it right. Okay. Clap yes. Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, we have 8-1-0.
Yep.
Okay. I'm getting a little like punchy, so I don't want to read the wrong numbers, but we'll prove when we get to the next section, we'll have to come up with a few things to put in the R&R about why we said yes, and if you want to say why you said no. But we'll let you go
Thank you
because
for the time.
you obviously, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
I think for the record, I think you're doing an awesome job with your presentations.
Yeah, I think you came into the meeting with multiple no votes, so your presentation was clearly compelling.
That's great. I did
Thank you.
send him an email yesterday saying, please come.
Okay. So
When do we get to
Jens-
grill the OPM?
Rod's very excited about that one.
Okay, let's see, I did want to give you all some feedback, having watched the select board meeting the other night, and Jenny Gingras mentioned that she has been in contact with the attorney, and it looks like the motion that will come to town meeting floor on the trail easements will not include eminent domain. And so your vote was actually somewhat listened to, I guess. And I think that will help with the vote at town meeting too, because I think we would have probably gone through an amendment anyway, or at least a vote on an amendment anyway, from what happened last time. But, so we can vote that at town meeting probably just as easy as revoting it once we see the real thing. And I think our instruction in the R&R is pretty clear that we support the concept of a gift. It was the eminent domain, so I think we're okay there. Okay, the other one, what do we want to do about golf club? Do we want to wait on that for, I think we wanted to wait on that for the next golf club meeting and vote at town meeting. And where you're not going to be at town meeting, so if you have any sage wisdom that you want to throw out, you're welcome to at this point, but.
So, what's the real reason we want to wait? I know you're having one more meeting on the 17th.
You know, I think I personally need to hear more from the committee, because I'm not sure at this point I would support it. So I think there might be a better option, but so that may be just me personally, so.
Can you say more about
I-
that?
I-
mean,
I just-
isn't this, you know, to fund
Yeah, I mean, I just.
a study and?
My concern is, and you know, it's kind of similar to what we just talked about here, funding a design for a project we can't afford. And, you know, I'm comfortable being on the committee and making sure that doesn't happen, but I'm not sure I can convince the taxpayers right now.
Right, but isn't part of what the money's going toward to discover if we can afford it?
I think we can discover that without spending that amount of money.
So the real question is, you don't need 50,000 if you are going to only design a much smaller thing.
Yeah, no, I understand, but if you know, if it is determined that you can support the larger thing, then you do need the 450, which is why they're asking for it. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I had those same sort of things. It just,
I'm not sure
You
we're
know-
gonna know that before the town
Right.
meeting anyway.
Right.
Because I
It
think
strikes
you
me that
need
we're
this,
not gonna know that
the
before
problem
the
is you
town
need
meeting.
part of this study to get the
And-
numbers from the food people and the square footage
yeah,
and
and my
this and then
point
that.
is that it's, you know, the responsibility of the committee to make a recommendation to the town. And I know sometimes we can't get stuff in the book, but, you know, is there gonna be material change such that, you know, maybe we do take a vote on the town meeting floor when we hear the amendment, or maybe when we hear on the 17th, but is it really gonna be material so that, I'm just wondering if we'd be better off, making a recommendation so that we could actually put a recommendation in the book, rather than just on town meeting floor, here's the vote.
Okay.
Which I think is less
Well, I think
useful.
the
for
other
people.
thing that could happen if something changes at the municipal building committee, not saying that it will, then that could be addressed separately anyhow, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, we vote on it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
We vote on it as it is in the
Yeah.
warrant. If
Yeah.
something materially changes, we could re-vote on it. I just feel like we're not making a recommendation if we don't make a recommendation. I understand we could vote on it.
The recommendation doesn't have to be in writing. The way
No, I
the
understand,
way we
but-
get crammed into a week and a half from the warrant closing to having to have the book done, I feel less and less obligated that it's in the book, because if the select board closes the warrant a week earlier, we have more options for getting stuff in books,
Right.
because we have to finish the book a week ahead of town meeting.
Yeah.
So we're really the ones that get the short timeline. I often, at town meeting, someone will get up and say at some meeting or another, we voted this. I mean, you still get that opinion in. I mean, I think
Yeah.
having it in the book is certainly a stronger thing, because it's read and it's.
Right, you get the reasoning behind
And the reasoning
the
behind it.
recommendation. That's the real value
Yeah.
to me, to dealing with it now rather than on the floor. But if you, I mean, but you're on the committee, if you're seeing if you think something's materially gonna change, then I can understand waiting. It just, I don't know. Seems like we're just holding the recommendation ransom,
Yeah, well, I guess
which
it'd be.
I don't see that as being in the best interest of the town.
Maybe this vote will influence the opinion of the municipal building committee.
Yeah. I could, if as a committee you guys don't agree with me, that's fine. I just,
I don't care either way too much, but does anybody else? If we vote now, Adam gets the vote, which is a bonus, because we have all 9 here, which is good.
Good.
And,
I'm okay voting.
and with any article, we can re-vote should we have new information at the meeting, for sure. Okay, well then, everybody okay with that? Hearing no objections, why don't you make a motion?
okay. This is gonna be a borrow, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. McMahon, I move to recommend the town vote to borrow $450,000 for the golf club building project, as written in Article 10.
Bradley, second?
Okay, further discussion?
So maybe a question, I was trying to get information about operations of the golf course and profitability.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this report submitted to, in 2020, which essentially showed golf course as not profitable operation. I think golf course was losing money since 2012 through 2020, with maybe 2 years with a profit. And I think I didn't see the latest report. Is this profitable operation? Are we? How much profit are we generating?
About $100K a year more than we spend right now. Yeah.
So that report that was
It was when it
provided
was
was not
private.
in response to your request.
Yeah, I
just,
understand.
it was in response to just the fact that it had been considered previously, and so we just wanted to highlight that. But since that report was done, and based on the outcome of that report, was when we moved it into a municipal department, and it has become profitable since then. So our level of retained earnings reflect that profit, because any revenue that's made over and above what's expended in the budget goes into retained earnings. So since we've changed it over, we're about $600,000 in retained earnings. So yeah, about $100,000 a year.
And that includes the purchase of those various mowers and.
Yeah, so in the last 10 years, we've used
That
retained
all comes
earnings
out
to
of there.
fund capital items. They're typically, if they're requested, they're not requested every year, but if they're requested, it's typically $20,000 to $50,000. there's been some sort of outlier years based on some different circumstances, but.
Right, so that report was written back when the golf course was run by a separate entity. And so there was a consideration of, does the town want, I mean, what Andrew brought up, does the town want a municipal golf course, so to speak, and how to do it, and that's why. And there was, I think, one year, Christie, that they had to, we actually had to fund a little bit, but that money ended up getting paid back. Yeah, so, yeah.
That was right at the transition.
Yeah. So is that enough information?
No, thank you, that was missing.
Okay, cool. Any other comments? Questions? Okay. Beth is still here. Okay. Beth, anything? Nope. Okay. You can vote.
Have you seconded?
Yes.
Bradley seconded. Yes, so we're ready to vote.
Ahuja, yes.
Lomberg, yes.
Bradley, no.
Brandt, no.
Chimala, no.
Clap, no.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses, 4 noes. Okay, 5, 4, 0. So we do approve. Okay, I think that's all the voting we can do. What I do need is if someone on the noes, or some people on the noes and some people on the yes want to write up something shorter than Josh will write. If somebody besides Josh.
I can certainly
We gotta
help,
approve
but
it tonight, though,
Yes.
so it's gotta be written now,
Oh, okay. Well, I guess
Right.
we gotta do it now. Yes, because it is.
because we're gonna
yeah.
have to approve that.
All right. Well, we'll
Yeah.
have to gather, we'll have to gather ideas, so we'll bring that up
Yeah.
on the screen and do that then.
Yeah.
Okay, as well as for the community
For the
center
community center,
project, we're gonna
yeah.
have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. In which case,
Good night. Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you for coming, Christie. Let's go to the booklet. First thing on the booklet, the easy part. Quantity of books. So, in March, we ordered 400. Last October, we ordered 500, which seemed like too many at the time. March of 2023, we ordered 350. In October of 2022, we ordered 300. I'm thinking with the community center, a number sort of 350, 400 sounds about right to me. The 500, I think, was too many. But the last time in March, we used up almost every book.
Oh,
of
yeah.
The 400.
Yeah.
But that.
But we had the 16 citizens petitions.
Yeah, so we had more people. So,
Yeah.
350? I don't know. It's not a huge
300?
difference in
I mean-
cost, probably, because it's a smaller book. It costs us a lot less than this, than the.
I mean, one of the things is to find out if there's a price point. Like sometimes
I'm not gonna do
the
that.
incremental cost
I'm not
is
gonna do that.
insignificant.
I'm not gonna spend my time doing that, because we have to vote
Okay.
tonight. So, and it's not a big deal. It isn't that much per copy difference between when you're talking 350 or 400.
Right.
So, it's just more what we sort of think. John's here, and maybe he has an opinion. I think he likes us erring on the side of having more than less. But if he has an opinion.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, yes, not getting carried away, but again, I given that we've got the community center and the golf course, and I know spending is becoming a bigger issue. I don't know how many to expect. So if I'd say 350 or 400 sounds right. And like we did in the spring, if we have a QR code ready for people who could grab it and download it to their phones or the PDF from their phones, just as a backup, that'd probably be helpful.
Yeah, my only concern is Owen's not here anymore, and he did it for me last year, so I don't.
I can do it.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, get it up and.
Oh.
I can probably,
Well, if
if
we-
you can do it, and I can give a
QR code, I
slide.
can work with.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, if you can get the QR code, we can work with Mark to get it on the slide, and I can.
All right, well, first we gotta get it up on the website so we have a place to put it, but we should have it by like next Wednesday or Thursday up on the website, so we can do that. Okay. So 350 then? 350, sounds like 350.
McMahon, I move we print 350 R&R books.
Bradley second.
Okay.
Ahuja, yes?
Blumberg, yes?
Bradley, yes?
Brant, yes.
Clap, yes.
Leslie, yes?
McMahon, yes?
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so that's 900, so we can do that, okay. All right, we ought to talk about what's in it first before we do the motion to accept it, right? Because this gives people a
Yes.
chance to still
Yep.
complain, okay. Let's see. I better bring up,
This is the message to the voters.
well, let's do the message first, and
Okay.
then we'll do the comments, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I have to, it's only one motion, but, because it's the whole book, but I have to find that one now. AFC, special town meeting, R&R. We have the narrative after Jane's edits are accepted. Okay, let me,
I just sent around, sorry. I just sent around another version with a few more edits.
After mine or
Built on
separate?
yours.
Okay. That's why I sent it to everyone, so that we didn't all send Walter our own red lines that he had to figure out how to combine.
It should have
sent me
gone
Joshua Brandt.
to everybody. Yeah.
I'm trying to write our minority opinion for the golf club right now to save Walter from having to do it himself.
Oh,
I was gonna
And because
ask
you're
you
not
too.
allowed to, apparently.
What was that?
And because you're apparently not allowed to.
Yeah, that's okay.
I thought it was very well written.
wait a minute. You sent me on the AFC article recommendations. No?
8:30.
Yeah.
Did I attach the wrong?
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with this. Let me share this. Or did you do one for this one?
I will send it in.
Hopefully it's not as red as the other one.
Are you ready for comments on the message to voters?
I want to go through it because we have to do it tonight, so
Yeah,
we're gonna
no, I
have
know.
to edit it, but I don't know. Josh, are you sending me one? I don't.
I am, yeah.
Okay, because the thing you sent me had nothing to do with this, I think. Must make great TV.
Hope everyone's watching at 1.5 speed.
Did anybody even notice things slowed down? I don't know.
All right, I guess we'll start reviewing the other one. I suppose you can tell us what you wanted to change when we get there.
Yeah,
I
I'm
also
sending
just
it right now.
emailed my minority opinion draft, so.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna close.
Were there
that.
significant edits in the message?
From my position, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Did you send it already?
I just did.
Okay.
okay, I'm gonna make this clear for the next time, as I really need stuff sooner if you're gonna make large changes. first draft was weeks ago. This is not the thing. This is comments and votes.
No, he just sent
I
a,
was just gonna say, oh God.
no, you sent the right thing.
Okay.
This- Oh, no, you did not.
I give up.
So you intended to send the comments on votes, not the general, right? Because there are edits
Opinions.
to this.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is,
we're
yeah,
talking about
this is
the-
what he meant.
The message.
Oh, no, 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 no.
So he said
Okay.
additional comments
So
on top of,
working
and I
on-
made minimal comment, or minimal adjustments
Yeah.
to the comments.
Yeah.
He made more on that, but nothing to the other document I sent earlier today? Okay.
Okay. So back to Jane's redlined version,
Got it.
second redlined version.
Okay. Share. Here we go. Oh, we don't have projectors.
We do not have projectors, no.
Okay, well, you guys have, if you have a computer, you can follow along. I have one extra printout here. if someone needs it. Everybody got a computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Should we all be joining Zoom to see what's being edited maybe?
oh, it is on Zoom.
We
I guess
could
you
all
could.
join Zoom and share the red line. Or just
I
talk
don't
through
have
by
any
what
issues
page
with anything
we're
that
on.
were in the red line.
Okay, so,
And frankly, all of the edits in the red line, I think are grammatical and
Right.
Yeah.
not substantive. They could be done
That
after
one
the
in
vote anyway.
particular, none
Yeah.
of those are,
okay.
Right.
So anyway, I've already accepted all her
Perfect.
changes, so that's done. So are there any other changes that want to be made to the
Yes.
message? Okay, that's what you're up to you.
That's, yeah.
Okay,
So in the look ahead to March ATM and fiscal 26.
way down at the bottom.
Yep, the
Okay.
last paragraph before you get to the chart.
Yep,
There's a sentence there that says, you're talking about, what you estimate the effect to be for fiscal 26. It says, to achieve a significant reduction in the increase of tax rate would require a decrease in staffing. That's not accurate. It's, you could
I
say,
didn't say tax rate. Oh, did
It does
Jane
say
change
tax
it? Jane changed it.
did I change it?
I don't know, I don't think.
I don't know.
think so.
I don't
Anyway.
think so, but anyway, it says
Okay.
tax
Oh,
rate,
maybe I
and
did.
it should be total budget or total levy or something like that,
Right.
because the
'Cause it's
tax
not
rate
tax rate.
can be
It's-
affected by a lot of
Reduction
things.
increase
Yeah.
of total budget. I looked at it, okay. Okay, so now it says a significant reduction in the increase of total budget would require, okay, makes sense.
I think that was it on that.
Okay, I can answer Jane's question, why did I pick 3.5%? The most recent loan we did was at 3%, but the golf club's a little squirrely because it may or may not qualify as municipal tax exempt, depending on how much of it is used, golf course versus restaurant. And so we might have to get these other things, so I figured, it doesn't really matter. It's an example interest rate, but I just upped it the extra 0.5%.
The only reason I questioned is we just did a municipal debt issuance that's significantly higher than 3.5%. Granted, it's based on credit rating and variable, but I just wanted to make sure,
I don't know.
given
John,
current interest rates,
We
it
used to
seemed
have
to-
like 4 or
Right.
4.5, but they've been going down. And then John said the last time they did it at 3, so
Okay.
they took him for that, but it did make it.
okay,
It could be 4, it goes up by some amount, but I think the whole point of this was just to remind people that when you're borrowing it, you gotta pay for interest, and this is on the ballpark of how much it
Okay.
would cost. It might be 5%, but it wouldn't. So, yeah, you always have to kind of pick a number, and in these unstable times, it's hard. It was probably easier 15 years ago to know what the number was gonna be, but anyway, is so. Only semi-arbitrary. Anything else?
Not on that.
Not for you?
No.
I still don't have from John all the numbers, so, but I have until Monday night to finish this. So I am asking you to accept the fact that we'll fill in those reserve fund numbers with the right numbers, which is part of the approval edits.
Right.
Since I don't have those numbers. And the only thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is moving forward. I would like us, and we did get a suggestion from Ed Bain on some of this, on how to clean up the report that we actually put in there with the numbers. I really kind of agree with him that the starting to look at things where the enterprise funds are sort of removed from the town budget. Because the other night, we sort of talked about, oh, you could just figure out how much did the, general budget go up by this many years. Anyway, I started on that exercise this week, and it's really complicated because the information that's in the budget book is not the same information exactly as in our little summary in the town meeting. So and we don't have a budget book for next year, so I can't use that information for what 2025 will be. But we have these, the R&R books, and they have a consistent set of data in sort of one format. But when you start making spreadsheets and trying to figure out exactly what is the real budget with all these
With
extra
the
numbers in
money
there, I think we could do a better job of making it clear. And
So the thought is to include the enterprise costs in the overall budget?
no.
Oh, okay.
The thought is to make it more clear what's happening. So the general budget is really what sets your tax rate, and the enterprise budget sets your rate if you have water or sewer, but
Right.
not everybody does, right? Those being looked at separately make more sense to me than in the middle of that chart, and then there's this number at the bottom that gets to this very large number.
Okay, I got you.
But you really want to see that as I think a separate bucket, and then I think you want to see more consistency in, so the schools are easy because the schools are all in, but the town's far more complicated because the town has salaries, the town has expenses, but they're not always lumped, but sometimes they are. And anyway, it's nothing to do with you can fix tonight, but I think there is some sense in simplifying what we present in our book, not by what spreadsheet that Leah worked out maybe 15 years ago or something, but maybe what makes more sense to us in what we want. And, now that we have a new finance director and a permanent one, right, then we could work on that in the off season to make those things, I think, be more useful.
So, speaking of a new finance director, and at the risk of sounding nitpicky, I thought 3.5% sounded very low, and John just emailed me that 4.5% would be a more appropriate number. So John apparently is watching. Thanks, John.
Hi, John.
Where's the rest of your numbers, John?
I would have, yeah, I would have asked John, but I already asked him too many other things that I haven't gotten answers for yet, so
I thought it was funny that he emailed me while we were having the conversation because
And that
it
could
seemed
be
very
because
low.
these are those other kind of bonds, so that they're probably higher. That was the impression I got. Anyway, we can change that. That's part of the number changing. Okay, any other changes other than changing that one thing to 4.5%, I guess? That's only one line. Oh, no, it's a paragraph, okay.
Josh,
All right.
the red and the blue are both yours?
Okay, so I'm going with the theory that we're going to stop that and we're going to start talking about the comments then.
Right. So if you go to the other one, it made my edits red and Josh's blue.
Correct.
Okay.
It's weird because mine
Okay,
were
so you
green
both-
when I
okay.
sent it, and then when I reopened the document, mine are now red. Josh's, so he slightly tweaked
Yeah,
what I assume were originally his comments that I had heavily revised.
Considering I'm the only dissent on, or minority on one of them, I think that's a safe assumption. And I'm happy to
Okay,
discuss
who's
I
any of
the-
that.
concised
who's is
them
the
for you.
blue?
What was that?
I made them a little bit more concise for you.
It doesn't really help me when you do this at the last night. I want substantive changes more. Okay, so who's blue and who's purple?
Blue is Josh.
Okay. All right.
Purple would be Jane, if there was purple. Oh, you do have purple.
Oh, well then I don't know,
Purple's
because
Josh.
I have red and blue.
Purple's Josh, blue is Jane on yours.
I don't know why yours are different colors.
Mine is red and blue.
It's making me busy.
Although,
Okay.
I just read through all of it, and I think if you accept all the changes.
So you
I don't
should
think
just
I
be
have
able to
any
accept
problem.
all of it, because they were already Josh's comments. I was revising just because they were a little lengthy and they said I, and I felt like it was appropriate to take out I. I think you could probably just accept all the changes
And we can look at it from there.
Look
There
at
was
it from there.
One thing you said,
Okay, but you're editing his comments.
but that's
And
okay.
he's okay
But
with
then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk
Okay with
about
his
them.
edit?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you accept all here, then we can talk about what the new
Mhm.
baseline is, right?
Mhm.
Okay. That'd probably make me less dizzy than looking at
Yep.
that. Review. Accept all changes. All right, we're accepted. Okay, Article 1, fine. Article 2, it did get a lot shorter. Is it what you want to be in there, Josh? Because it was your.
I'm okay with the revisions that I just sent. Yeah, I'm fine with those.
Okay. Okay, fine. Article 3, don't see any changes. Well, actually, I wouldn't know if there are changes. 4, well, let me know if you have any. Anybody has 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 9, community center. Okay, I need something in favor and I need something
You've
against.
got something against
Okay, let me check my email box.
in your email box.
I sent you a few notes.
And John sent me an email saying 4.5% is better. Oh, Adam sent something. Okay. Let me copy that. You can't see what I'm doing anyway, so this is a little silly.
So we got
But,
Yeah, we've got a for and against for Article 10.
Yeah, for and against for the golf club's done, so we just need the community center.
This is community center.
Yeah, I was just looking at what we'd emailed around. So Prashant wrote you a for and I wrote you an against for the other
Right.
one.
Right, I thought that was a community center, my bad, Walt.
No, Prashant sent me some. Okay.
Nice job. I agree with both of them.
So that's the hard part on that one, though. Right? I mean,
Okay, so I have from Adam the minority opinion of the design and bid documents are for a project which will likely cost the town over 11 million. The concern is that a project in its current form will put additional burden on taxpayers on top of already increasing taxes. And you
I mean, I
said-
wasn't the minority, but that sounds about
That sounds
right.
right.
That was
Mhm.
my concerns.
Okay.
And since
And
he
I'm
was
sorry I
the
didn't send
minority
it.
and wrote it, it makes sense
Oh,
to
and
me.
Prashant.
I'm sorry I didn't send it to everybody, but it was from the cell phones. And I just
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, no worries.
And Prashant sent.
for the golf course.
Okay. This statement. This project could enhance the town's facilities, increase use of the golf club, and potentially bring in more revenue. We trust that the design phase, public engagement, and bid documents will be executed in a cost-effective and transparent manner. It is hoped that the Country Club Enterprise Fund would have sufficient. Oh, wait a minute. It's the wrong one.
Yeah,
Country Club
Yeah, that's
has
already-
nothing to do
that'll
with
be the
this.
next one. I'm working on a 4. If you want to put the golf course ones together, I'll email you a community center in
Thank
just
you.
a second.
Okay, so I've left cost-effective transfer, I just cut out the part about the country club fund. Right? His last sentence was, it is hoped that the
No,
country
no,
club.
no, that is for Article 10, the golf.
Oh, I'm in the
Article 10.
wrong one.
You're in the
Oh.
wrong one, yeah. I said it was for the community center, it's not.
Oh,
It's for the
you
golf
threw me a
club.
bone, okay, so
Yeah.
this goes here and then it all makes sense.
Right, Jane is
It
writing.
was so well written, okay. Right, fine, and then,
And then we've got a minority opinion on the golf club in that same email right below Prashant's.
Yep.
Is Jane's draft. Has everybody seen both of those?
okay, so I need a committee statement for the community center.
Jane is writing it currently.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to email it to you in just a
Keep
second.
going, take your time. And then you said, this is from, who wrote this one? Oh, Jane wrote.
Jane did.
Okay, so I have the point counterpoint of it. What's it
Yep.
called? Very good. Okay. I've heard about design by committee, but writing by committee is probably a new love.
So I'm seeing the adjustments for the for and against and 10 in the emails. Is it appearing in a document somewhere?
Well, he sent a
No,
Word
but-
document, so no. He's making the updates in an actual Word document.
Got it.
It's not like a Google Doc or something, so we're just emailing
Okay.
comments back and forth.
You can see it if you joined our meeting, I guess. Beth can see it better than anybody, probably.
Oh, are you sharing it in the Zoom
I
meeting?
thought I was, but maybe I'm not. So sometimes I don't do things right. Let's try Zoom. No.
It was getting shared, but it isn't right now.
AFC comments. How about that?
Yep, I can see that now.
Okay.
May I ask, in the 4 for number 10, it mentions the project could enhance the town's facilities. Is that a reference to the golf club? Because the spending would have to be limited to the golf club, because it's coming from country club. So the term enhance the town's facilities makes it seem to me that it may be impacting the rest of the town, and maybe it is in a way I didn't
The
understand.
golf club's part of the town.
No, I understand that, but it's not enhancing the town's facility. And this is where my I want to sell the golf club thing is coming from. Everything in the golf, what happens in the golf club stays in the golf club. It's
So-
not
so-
helping the
So the
town.
four people think it enhances the town's facilities.
Right.
But to be clear,
Well,
the facilities
wait a
within
sec-
the 4 walls of the country club or of the golf club.
Well, if the restaurant were to have a function room, if the building had a function room as part of the restaurant, isn't it also part of the town?
Part of the town either way.
Yeah.
Right, so that's enhancing, I mean, that's where there might be an enhancement of the town's facilities.
I don't know how.
The
we
fire
could-
department's an enhancement to the town facilities, whether your house burns down and you need them or not.
Right,
Just because you don't plan to play at the golf course, it would be part of the town facilities.
But the town facilities, the fire department touches every part of the town. It'll put out a fire in every corner of the town.
Only
The
if
golf
there is a
club will-
fire.
Or it will not put out fires in many towns.
Any
But the
resident can
point
go
is,
play golf at the golf course.
but
if they
only
choose
within
to.
the 4 walls of the golf course, though. I mean, enhances the town's facility, enhances the golf
That
club's
is a town
facilities, I
facility.
understand.
Which is part of the town.
It's an asset of the town.
I know, but the town suggests something much bigger, doesn't? I mean, does that not seem
No.
ambiguous? No, it doesn't? Is the golf club the town? No. If the golf club is not the town, it is a part of the
it's-
town. It seems to me.
But it's a part of the town facilities, so enhancing a
So,
golf course.
having a viable municipal golf course to some people would be enhancing the town's facilities. Like, 'cause what do you have in Westborough? Oh, we have a municipal golf course.
Yeah.
It theoretically drives traffic to our businesses. It drives up property values because it makes it an attractive place to live. It increases
not
green
that
space. I
outrageous.
mean,
So,
it's
but nothing-
right. But I mean, you could make an argument for it. Does improve the town. I mean, I don't golf, but I'm glad
But the
we have
counterpoint
it.
is not that we get rid of the golf course. I don't think there's I haven't heard anything that says get rid of the golf course. So while everything you said is true, those things only become valid if we don't have a golf course. So if the group is comfortable saying
No,
the
I
town's
think the
facilities-
idea is having a nice pro shop, facility there for the golf course, and having at least a bar that serves some kind of food would enhance the facilities. I'm not as sold on having the full-scale restaurant there mattering to me, but I think leaving it the way it is now is less attractive. Because
But there's some people who go to the restaurant and don't golf.
like I said, I didn't find the value. I don't get, I admit you might find a value in that, but I think I can go to a different restaurant. That's not, to me, the town's job. But the municipal golf course, having at least a facility that allows it to be used well is good.
Okay, I mean,
If you'd voted for it, I'd have more.
Yeah, but you voted against it anyway, so.
That's Prashant's statement. If you voted for it, you could argue with the phrase.
I'm about clarity, and if everybody thinks that this is sufficiently clear, I won't argue the point. I would disagree with it, but I won't argue it. I don't know, to the point about the function room, I don't know how we could have watched the community center and all the space that's going to be there and think that a function room should be paid for anywhere else in this town at all, ever, for anything.
There
So-
wouldn't be a function room in the golf club.
No, I
golf
think
club
the
building.
suggestion was made that if there was a function room, that might
yeah,
enhance
yeah.
the town. But
I don't think,
that's,
it's gonna be
So you want to have your wedding reception at the senior center or at the golf club?
oh no, the veterans, I want to go to the veterans area because they're separate, but equal, but separate.
okay, Jane sent me something so I can finish this. Community Center Pro, we support moving forward with the bid process as it is a necessary step to advance the project. While the committee had concerns regarding the original project scope, we believe the current plan's attempts to address those issues by incorporating phased construction approach reflects both our and the community's concerns about managing overall costs, ensuring the project remains financially feasible.
This one I felt like was harder because it was a reluctant yes. So if you guys have other feedback, that one might need some.
I feel like I had the same reluctant yes, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but I do understand what you're saying. There are others who might feel
Now,
that.
I feel like this would be somewhere where this project does have also the ability to enhance the town's facility.
It does. That is true.
And more to Andrew's point,
Would you
this
like
I
to argue
see
about that
more
one
as a
too?
town facility,
Yes,
a multi-generational center.
Yeah, I was supposed to be on the road a half an hour ago, so I'm gonna
Okay.
skip. I trust the opinions
What?
of
And
the
missed
people
this?
here. If it wasn't for Andrew, it would be done by now. I'm done.
We're close. We're close, we're getting
Thanks,
there.
Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Okay. I would probably like to add a sentence, something about the center being a real nice addition to the improved senior center and community center is a real, it's a good addition to the town or something. I don't know what the exact words are. But that's fine.
Are you adding that? Sam?
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's happening. She'll figure it out. Okay.
She's like, AI. Just say it.
Were there any, while she's typing, were there any other ones that need adjustment? From your opinion?
There was one line in,
I guess we accepted your changes already, so if you had changes, they're there.
well, we accepted them to discuss, right?
Yeah, right, no, I
Yeah,
mean, like, they're
doesn't
in
mean-
there, they're
yeah.
already in there, so
Right.
if you're gonna.
Sorry, hang on.
So your other second
Oh,
comment.
in
Yeah, okay.
the minority opinion on Article 18,
Yes.
it says, As a result, it'll disadvantage smaller local proprietors who likely lack the expertise. I'm just wondering if we want to qualify that with likely, or just say who may lack the expertise?
Yeah, can we soften that to
Just-
may rather than?
Resources?
Seems offensive to the
Because
local.
a certain
Small
local
local
proprietor
proprietors.
might be an expert at it, at a certain topic.
I don't know.
And that would be an unlikely situation,
Yeah, I
in
guess
my
that's what
opinion.
his point was.
I don't disagree, I just,
Most small proprietors didn't then, go to whatever school to learn how to do lead certification.
Right.
That's
but,
why
don't
there's usually regulatory
to be
experts
fair,
that
you
work
picked-
specifically on
you
those
picked
types of
the most
projects.
complex one. There were a lot of other
Correct.
things you could get points for. So,
I mean, if you feel, it's not my statement, so I don't really care if you want to include the likely. I just thought that was,
Well, the way I would look at the word likely is it means more than 50%. And I think there is a larger than 50% chance that somebody that's a small business owner lacks the expertise to do these types of
that
things.
seems fair.
I don't disagree with it. I'm just,
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so we'll just, Jane will figure out something. And then we're kind of set with this for now, I think, right? Nobody has other stuff. You want to make the motion meanwhile that we have to make, and then
yeah,
we can finish it before we vote, right? But it keeps us moving forward.
McMahon, I move to approve the Advisory Finance Committee booklet as amended and edited at tonight's meeting with the provision that topographical and formatting changes, including verifying the consistent and correct use of amounts which do not impact the substance, can be made by the chairman, the vice chairman, and his or her designee.
Bradley, second.
Okay, well, let's finish the edit first, but
Yep.
then we can vote. At least we did that, all right.
All right, it's on its way to you.
It's on its way, isn't this a miracle of modern
Just
science?
the last edit to the community center one, adding a note that,
Oh.
so the sentence I added is the committee agrees that the multi-generational community center is a valuable addition to our town, providing a space that serves residents of all ages and enhances community engagement.
Perfect. I think-
So I just
thought-
added, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I apologize. You can finish your thought. I just added a couple of things on Jane's statement before she sent her revision. I just thought
Okay.
maybe that can be reviewed to make it more subtle in terms of why it benefits going ahead with this article.
Okay, you can.
Did you send that to everybody?
Yes, yes.
Any suggestions?
Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is paste this in while I'm thinking of it.
There it is.
Okay, and then, I have another article, another email. Yes,
Yeah, I like that. I like your edits.
Yeah, I mean, just making it.
Yep.
so is this the whole thing now? If I cut, paste his
Do you want me
thing?
to give you it all in one summary one?
That would be awesome.
Okay, on it.
Thank you, Jane.
My phone buzzing on. Unrelated.
Texting you on it.
Unrelated.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah, now I'm getting text edits. All right, so while we're doing that, just to give you guys the overall lay of land is, Monday's a town holiday. So on Tuesday, I will be working with Sheila to get all this stuff and John's stuff and the whole warrant thing into a booklet that we send to Curry Printing, hopefully by the end of the day, Tuesday. Because they need it by Wednesday early, like latest. And then they put it into a form, I check the proof, and then we have books delivered on Monday afternoon to the high school. It all just sort of somehow happens. I don't see a need for Thursday the 17th meeting now, so we'll cancel that one. Well, we won't post for it. So, before, so we will next, we'll be posting a meeting for 6 6:30 on that Monday night at town meeting, so if there's anything we need to sort through ahead of town meeting, I don't know of too many right now, unless, if I get a hold of the motions and we see the motions, then we could vote it ahead based on the motion. Sometimes the motions get distributed, but that may have been because I had to make motions at the last meeting. I was on the distribution list for the motions, because we moved some of the articles at the annual town meeting, but we don't necessarily move things. We're not moving anything at
Yes.
this one.
If I get a copy of the motions, Walter, I'll try to send it to you. In worst case, middle of the week, send me an email asking me if I've gotten them, in case I forget.
Okay. And so that all should kind of work. Okay, so now I have a unified thing, which I will put in here.
I feel like it's one of our lengthier responses, but I feel like it also makes sense on this
Well,
one where we all had.
I'll be honest with you, one of the
This is the
things
biggest
that
thing.
I thought was wrong with our message was the biggest two elephants in the room aren't in the message. The
Yeah.
golf course and the
And the community.
country club, because we didn't have enough information at the time that had to write the message to really yet know and we only know our vote on it now, right? And it's
It's
kind
true.
of hard to construct much of a message other than, so, but at least we have our small segments, which are actually, in a sense, a more, having this ability to put comments after each article is almost a better, more specific message than we ever had before, because you could write the 8-page thing in the front and you don't know if
Well, it
anybody
expects somebody to
reads it.
find and match
Yeah,
too. Like here, we're
right.
specifically saying on this thing, here's our.
Yeah, so I think this
Yeah.
is it's difficult to do these for every article, but I think it's got a lot of value in our recommendations, more than just the generic statements that we make in the beginning of the book. So thank you all for your participation. Okay. So now we have, I think, everything filled out good enough, and we have a motion to accept it, and so we just have to vote. This is a motion to accept the R&R message as we edited today, except for editing typos and math. But we know we have to change some of the money. I'm gonna change the thing to the 4.5%. And should I change our general? There's a section in the back that tells you rules of thumb that also, I said it, I think 3% in there, but I could put it in for 4. It tells you how much $1 million costs when you borrow it at a certain rate. Anyway, I'll
makes
ask
sense.
John his opinion on the general rule of thumb, but if he thinks that should be 4 or 4.5, I can redo those numbers too. But those, all just numbers.
Okay.
And then I will, you're around this weekend or no? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll probably have Jean also proofread at the end. Okay, anyway, that's the motion.
Awesome. Does anybody need to second or?
It's all seconded.
It's-
You seconded.
It's all good, ready to go.
It was seconded.
Just need a vote.
Ahuja, yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Brant, yes.
Chimada, yes.
Clap, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, absent. So that is,
That seemed
he
gratuitous.
gave us his blessing.
So is it 800 or 801?
801.
It's 00 because he's
800.
gone now.
0-0.
Yeah, he can't
Yeah,
really
he's gone.
abstain. He's
Right, he's not abstaining.
there. It's 800
He's hit the
with
bricks.
8 present or something like that. Okay. Let's see what else we gotta do. I will just mention liaison reports that Rod had noticed that some work going on at the wastewater treatment plant budget. And he had wanted to bring that to our attention, but he'll do it at another meeting because it's for the fiscal 26 budget. So it doesn't, not timely critical. Anybody else have anything else? If not, I think we should adjourn because we already did the minutes.
McMahon, motion to adjourn.
Clap second.
Ahuja, yes.
And-
Bloomberg,
oh,
yes.
I gotta stop sharing.
Bradley, yes?
Brant, yes.
Chimada, yes.
Clap yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
We are adjourned. It's 8:00. Thank you, Westborough TV. Long night.
See you at town meeting.
Yes, so our next meeting will be at town meeting at the